Start with a surprising statistic about how many people struggle with boundaries in their relationships, or ask a thought-provoking question like, are you often feeling overwhelmed by others' demands? Setting boundaries is a vital skill that's essential for our emotional well-being and healthy relationships. Think about it. When we don't set boundaries, we can feel overwhelmed, resentful, and even burnt out. But when we do set boundaries, we can experience a sense of freedom, empowerment, and confidence that's life-changing. Individual. Now, if you are new here, please like the video and subscribe. Statistics show that only 6% of my audience is subscribed to the channel. So if this content has helped you in any way, I ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Now let's start. One of the biggest challenges people face when it comes to setting boundaries is the fear of rejection. We're afraid that if we say no to someone or set a limit, they'll reject us or think we're not a good friend or partner. This fear can be especially strong if we're people pleasers or have a history of being walked all over. But the truth is, people who truly care about us will respect our boundaries and may even thank us for being honest with them. Another challenge is guilt. We often feel guilty for taking care of ourselves or putting our own needs first. We think, I should be sacrificing more for others, or I'm being selfish by saying no. But the reality is, we can't pour from an empty cup. When we take care of ourselves and set boundaries, we're actually more capable of showing up for others in a meaningful way. Lack of assertiveness is another huge obstacle. We may not know how to communicate our boundaries clearly or confidently. We might apologize too much, make excuses, or justify our needs, which can undermine our own power. The key is to practice assertive communication by using I statements, being direct, and owning our needs without apology. Finally, there's the challenge of not knowing what our boundaries even are in the first place. We may be so used to overgiving or overcommitting that we don't even know what we need or want. This can make it hard to set boundaries because we're not even sure what we're trying to protect. Taking time to reflect on our values, desires, and limits is crucial in setting healthy boundaries. Emotional boundaries are about protecting our feelings and thoughts from being drained or manipulated by others. For example, if someone constantly calls us to vent about their problems without ever asking about ours, we may need to set a boundary around how much emotional energy we're willing to give. Physical boundaries are about protecting our personal space and body from being touched, invaded, or disrespected. This can include everything from setting limits around physical touch to choosing who we share our living space with. Time-related boundaries are about protecting our schedule and time from being overcommitted or wasted. This can mean learning to say no to certain tasks or commitments, setting realistic deadlines, or prioritizing self-care activities. I remember a time when setting boundaries made a huge difference in my life. I was in a toxic work environment where my boss was constantly calling me on the weekends and expecting me to work long hours without any notice. I felt burnt out and resentful, and my relationships outside of work were suffering too. One day, I decided to set a boundary by telling my boss that I was only available to work during certain hours on weekdays. It was scary, but it was also liberating. My boss respected my boundary, and I started to feel more in control of my time and energy. That experience taught me that setting boundaries isn't about being selfish. It's about being responsible for our own well-being and taking care of ourselves. When we set boundaries, we're actually showing up for ourselves and others in a more authentic way. It allows us to prioritize our own needs, protect our energy, and cultivate healthier relationships. So, take some time to reflect on your own boundaries. What are you willing to tolerate, and what are you willing to stand up for? Thanks for watching, and if you have any thoughts or experiences about setting boundaries, please share them in the comments below. If you're new here, consider subscribing for more videos on personal growth and self-improvement. And don't forget to check out my next video on the power of vulnerability in relationships.